What's up, Internet? My name's Nerdy.
And I'm Clarus.
This is our Season 1 review, and at the very end, we're going to wait till the very end, a little bit of a spoiler chat for the entirety of Season 1 of The Bad Batch, which ended this morning on Disney+. We get Nerdy Nightly.
And we thought we'd share it with you.
That is right. Welcome back to another review conversation here on the channel. This time for Season 1 of The Bad Batch, the show that I love talking about with you because we come at it from such different places. We're both big Star Wars fans, but you have never seen Rebels, you've never seen Clone Wars, and you've never seen Resistance. So in terms of Star Wars animation, this was the first show that you watched a season of.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I've seen every episode of all of those things because I have a slight obsession. As you can tell by the shirt and some of the toys in the room. Yeah, we have a few Baby Yodas.
Don't worry about it. It's fine.
So I guess where I want to start with in this, I want to say something, if that's all right.
Go for it.
I really like the show. In fact, I would say that in terms of the animated shows that you have not seen, I think this is the best first season of any of them. Having seen the entire thing now, I think that the first seasons of Rebels and Clone Wars, especially, Resistance is a bit of a different beast because there's only 2 seasons. It's a much more condensed story than the other two.
Right.
The first seasons of Rebels and Clone Wars both had a bit of a getting into it period.
Yeah.
And this show didn't have that, partially because it's just an extension of Clone Wars at the end of the day.
I was going to say, do you think it's because it is branched off of something that's pre-established?
Yeah. I also think that it has to do with the fact that the characters from this were introduced in the Clone Wars Season 7, and so they didn't have to do as much introducing. The only character they really had to introduce for the show was Omega. Omega. But everyone else already kind of existed. And this show is really just about fleshing out those characters.
Yeah.
But because you haven't seen those other things, what did you think of this as a season as a whole?
I thought it was great. I don't watch a ton of animated shows, which I guess is why I never got into the other Star Wars animated stuff. But I thought it was really well done. We did a couple chats for the first couple episodes, and then realized they're pretty short episodes, and it's hard to find things to talk about when they're 20 to 30 minutes, which is why we're doing the full season kind of chat.
Yeah.
And I, this is something that I was excited for week to week. It wasn't like I had to commit to an hour of my time. It was really easy to watch. Disney made it very clear to understand. Obviously, it is meant for a younger audience. And I think that for the most part, they accomplished that. There's some dark stuff in there.
Yeah, this show rides a line that I think that Clone Wars also had to struggle with a little bit, in that it is a children's show, but and this show even more than Clone Wars, honestly, because this show is about the rise of the Empire. It's about the Bad Batch, but really what it is about, the Bad Batch is the audience's POV for the Empire as its claw grips the balls of the galaxy. You know what I mean? That's really, it's just the vice clamping down, right? And so the show is really, when you look past the actions of our main characters to the world around them, the thematic undertones of the show are incredibly dark.
Yeah.
And remarkably messed up.
Yeah.
Truly, there's stuff that happens in the show that you're like, oh yeah, this is a genocide? I'm watching a genocide. That's a really tough thing for a children's show to do.
Yeah.
And I think that this is the kind of show, the kind of show that I had as a kid that doesn't really exist anymore. Kids' content now doesn't do this the way that it did in the 80s and 90s. Where it is a kid's show, but if you are an adult, you can see that there's more there. But if you're a kid, it's a little bit vague enough that you'll miss it. And I think that that's the line that they rode really well until maybe the finale, where things actually are genuinely dark.
Yeah, things get pretty bleak.
Not to spoil anything. I don't think that's a spoiler. I think that there's a big climactic ending to the show. That if you are a fan of Star Wars canon, you're gonna enjoy seeing what happens. Or it hurts. It's a bunch of things.
It's all the feels.
But I recommend it. I really recommend watching the show. I think that the advances in the animation are absolutely stunning. We were talking, watching the episode, the the series finale today, and I was saying the way that they use flashlight lighting in the animation in this season, they could never have done in the original Clone Wars. Like, the technology just wasn't there. It just didn't look the way it does now.
Yeah.
Whereas there are scenes now where the only light sources are flashlights.
Yeah.
And every light in the scene is moving, and it's so beautiful. And I think the animators have just done such an incredible job of really fleshing out how the visuals of Clone Wars can look when you advance the technology a couple of years.
For sure, because you had the you had the movement of the flashlights at all times, but you also had the droid AZ. That's it. It's like their eyes were another like moving light source, but that was also a slightly different color than like the white of the flashlights, and it looked very, very, very good. I was really kind of blown away by honestly how good the show looked as a whole. Animation has come so far. I really enjoyed it. I think that if you're a Star Wars fan, but you're like me and you haven't seen the other animated shows, I don't think you have to go and watch Clone Wars first to really enjoy this. I didn't watch it. I will. I want to.
Yeah. Well, especially now that you kind of,
Yeah, but no, it can be really hard to make a spin-off show for people to enjoy it without knowing its like source, like where it comes from.
100%, yeah.
And they did a great job. I have to say, as a whole, there were definitely things that kind of went over my head, but that I never would have noticed if you weren't in the room with me.
There's a lot. There have been complaints levied at the show about the cameo nature of the storytelling. There are people who find that there have been a bit too many. Like, and this week, this character shows up, which I disagree with. I disagree with that complaint. I think that the characters who have shown up have all been relevant to the story that they're telling.
Yeah, and like people that these people already know, so it makes sense that they would reach out to them in need. Yeah,
it's weird. People are like, "Why is Cut here?" Well, because he's a clone and they knew him. Why is Rex here? He's a clone. They knew him. And those are the first few episodes. We're not going to spoil some of the... I don't want to spoil some of the later ones, because if you manage to miss who's in the show, it's really cool. There are some... If you watch Clone Wars, there are some great cameos later on in the episodes that... there's one in particular that I lost... I lost my mind over. So, I don't know. I think that complaint is a little... The idea that people are putting forward that the Star Wars galaxy is too small in this show is just confusing to me, because this show is about these characters and the characters that they already know. Like, with almost every single character that they do interact with, there is a previous relationship built in, and there is a reason why they're interacting with them. And it never felt unrealistic to me that the characters who show up would show up.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where I think if the characters have a predetermined relationship, then it makes absolute sense. But, for example, if the Bad Batch were to, like, run into Obi-Wan, like, well, I guess, I don't know, did they meet him during the Clone Wars? They might have. But I just mean, it makes sense that they would contact... Yeah, I was like, well, that probably happened. But it makes sense that they would reach out to other clones of people that they have relationships with. Other than, like, like, Baby Leia doesn't show up, right? Like, because that wouldn't make sense, but that would be a
actually.
Cameo.
Here's the thing. Timeline-wise, it would make sense for Baby Leia to show up.
Yeah.
It would be super fun, too.
Okay, it would be. But I'm saying they have no reason to, like, go find Baby Leia.
You don't know. Season 2. We're getting Season 2.
I
guess we just spoiled that Baby Leia is not in Season 1. Although, if she was...
I want that fun, though.
You would know already, because Twitter would lose its collective mind.
Yeah. I don't know. The cameos, to me, felt very natural. I was like, that's another clone. They obviously know them. It makes sense.
Well, and it continued the storytelling of the Clone Wars, in my opinion, where... The world of these characters is connected, right? And part of the story of the Bad Batch is in the background. You're watching the proto-rebellion. I stole that term from Force Center, but the beginnings of the rebellion are building already. We're days, weeks, months into the Empire in this season, and you're already seeing the rebellion, people who will eventually be in the rebellion going, hey, this is bad. Yeah. This is already bad. And the show goes from good to bad, from victory to loss real quick.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed with that. I want to call out some of the voice actors. I think it's Michelle Yeoh who voices Omega. I think she's fantastic. She brought a lot of heart and charm to that role.
Omega.
Yeah, she's so sweet. I just wish that she had armor. all of the other Bad Batch members have armor.
Yeah.
And she goes in a tunic and she's got her bow and a tunic, and that's it.
I think that's why I love Omega, is because she's just like the archery kid that I wanted to be.
I know, but I'm like, do the adults keep being like, it's too dangerous for Omega, and then she's like, but I want to go, and they're like, well, fine, but they're not, and then they put on all their armor.
Yeah.
And they have helmets, they've got everything, and she's got her hair just flapping about, and I'm like, just
I gotta look good.
Just give Omega some armor. What's happening?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure kid armor is kind of hard to come by, but
Omega armor for season 2. Let's get that awfully long hashtag going. I also just want to call it D. Bradley Baker. Obviously, ever since the beginning of Clone Wars, D. Bradley Baker has been doing something truly special, bringing so many different clones to life. And the fact that this show is D. Bradley Baker as 4 voices. 5 with Crosshair, but the for the most part 4 voices. He voices the 4 main characters of the show, and at no point do their voices ever feel similar. They are 4 distinguished, different people, and Crosshair is even more different, vocally.
No. I like that that they're clones. They definitely sound distinctive. They definitely sound different, but like. But there is also that, like, moments where they do sound samey and like with other clones and stuff. But I like that because it makes sense.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's so impressive to keep 4 voices, or really 5 voices, that are so close, but they never cross the line to too close.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like there's like 4 lines running parallel, and they keep almost touching, but they never actually touch.
Yeah.
And I think that's so impressive. I love these characters so much. I mean, Wrecker is...
my fave.
Wrecker is just one of the most delightful additions to Star Wars canon in recent memory, and I love that big burly softy. He's so... I love him.
Do we know, like, other Star Wars canon, what ends up happening to the Bad Batch?
Nope.
Or is that where the show, do you think, is
We have
headed?
no idea. Well, we will find out, I think, yeah.
You think so?
These shows have been good about either leaving it, like, weirdly vague, like... so that it can be told in a future story. Obviously, the end of Rebels comes to mind. I won't spoil what happened, but we will get those answers in live action, which is going to be really fun.
Right.
To get live action answers to an animated show when Ahsoka comes out later this year. And they've already cast those characters, so get excited.
That's fun.
But no, there's no official canon answer on the Bad Batch. In fact, there was no Bad Batch in canon until season 7 of Clone Wars. They popped out of the ground fully formed. And obviously now they have some backstory, and we're going to get more of their stories. I think, books and stuff, comic books will probably get more of their backstory as well, for past missions in the Clone Wars and whatnot, as Star Wars is wont to do. But yeah, right now, well, actually, we might not for a while, because the books and comics are really on High Republic now. So this show will probably be the only Bad Batch stuff we get for a while. If it's more popular, we'll probably get more. If it's not, we'll see. But we have no idea where these soldiers end up, which is super fun. They are not in Rebels.
Okay.
To my memory, unless I'm forgetting an episode, but like I don't think they show up at all in Rebels. Okay. So either they leave the life, they are there but they're not there. Yeah. Which is what they did with like Hera is in the Battle of Endor, in Return of the Jedi, but you don't see her in the movie. But Hera is technically there in her ship flying around. As they've added, they've added in other content. There's a What was that short series that they did on YouTube, Forces of Destiny? There's an episode where Hera, Syndulla, and Han Solo meet in that on Endor. Gotcha. And they have an argument about who's the better pilot. It's Hera Syndulla. I love you, Han Solo, but it's Hera Syndulla. So yeah, I think like we will be getting a lot more Bad Batch storytelling. I think these characters are really popular. I think we're gonna find out what happens to Omega. I think that what happens to the Bad Batch is less interesting to me than where was Omega during the original trilogy now. And
Omega still has like a lot of mystery behind her, and I'm really excited to see where they take that.
At the beginning of this season, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of like, oh, this will be like 2 seasons, like Resistance. Like I don't know how far they could take this. But then throughout the season, I was like, oh no, they could do a full Rebels. Like we could do 4 or 5 seasons of this easy. Especially the universe will expand. I think through Sid, we're going to meet a lot of characters. Sid really is the connector between the Bad Batch and any Star Wars character they want to bring in.
Pretty
Sid
much.
seems to know everyone. She worked with the Jedi. She's an incredible character. I absolutely love Sid.
Yeah.
So I think there's so much potential in the show now, and I just love it. I love these characters. Gonki, AZ. I hope AZ is, we'll see what happens with that droid.
Yeah.
I really love that droid.
I'm really excited to see where they kind of take this, and I'm excited to see the true like rise of the Empire.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of already there, right? Like.
Oh yeah. It's just we're gonna just see more and more things from different people's perspectives, different planets' perspectives, different races' perspectives, and I have a feeling we're gonna like get these kind of little small wins here or there that like help domino into the eventual fall of the Empire.
Well, I think the episode that really sold me on the idea that this could go for multiple seasons is there is an episode in the show that focuses on. We're not in spoilers, so I don't want to spoil it because it is fantastic.
Should we move into spoilers?
Well, no, I just want to say there's just 2 episodes that focus on a particular planet, and the Bad Batch are a part of that storyline, but for 2 episodes, the storyline becomes about something else, somebody else. And when that happened, and the Bad Batch still managed to be a part of it, and it still managed to further the Bad Batch's storyline and inform their character development, but managed to tell a story about something else. That was a moment where I was like, oh, you can do this forever with the Bad Batch. The Bad Batch can go to every planet in the galaxy and see how the rise of the Empire is affecting them. And that's interesting storytelling, and we get to learn about this time period in Star Wars, and there is so much potential in that, and those 2 episodes, that sold me 100%.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Is there anything else we should shout out? Do you have any? Is there anything you didn't like about the show?
Honestly, not really.
Yeah. There were a couple of filler episodes, but they were fun enough that I didn't mind.
Yeah, like nothing like upset me or there's nothing that I hated. It's not my favorite show of all time, It is really well geared towards all ages, and
I agree with that.
I have a big respect for that. But
I think for me it's it doesn't quite rise to the level of Clone Wars or Rebels yet, but I do think that it is higher. I would place this first season higher than those first seasons.
I was gonna say,
right.
You can't compare one season of Bad Batch to all 8 seasons.
Oh no, I'm just saying, right now I still remember those more fondly, but there's a lot more storytelling to them. Whereas this has so much potential, and I hope that it continues and explores its potential to its fullest, because I think there's so much room there. I think it's a fantastic first season. I think that we got to the end of the first season, and we have great characters we love. I care about all of them. We have villains that I find interesting. I think Admiral Rampart is a really interesting Imperial villain.
He's such a frat boy. Oh my
god.
Like
truly.
It's so funny. Yeah. Even his voice.
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah.
But he's great, and I care about him and seeing his downfall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I care to
go down.
But that's a good villain to me. I think he's smart. I think that he's a worthy adversary. I don't think he's a joke. Which sometimes can feel like the admirals and stuff can sometimes feel that way.
Last Jedi.
Well, yeah, Hux kind of comes to mind, right? And the way that character goes. And so, but Admiral Rampart scares the crap out of me because he truly feels like he would do anything to win.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, I'm really happy he's the villain of this. I think he's going to be great. And I think that, watching his downfall, I'm assuming in the show, will be great. Nice. And so, I care about that.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to seeing that in future seasons.
Do we know in other lore what happened to the Cameos?
No, this was it. This was the answer that we've been waiting for. It's always been in canon. We won't say what that answer is, but you do finally find out where Camino is at during the Empire, and that was really cool to see.
Yeah.
This is the answer that we've been waiting for.
All right, should we move into spoilers then?
Full on spoiler talk.
Spoilers.
If you don't want to get spoiled, leave now. But do like and subscribe, leave comments down below, do all the things. Algorithm God is hungry. We must feed her. Say mean things. Twitch.tv/nerdynightly. Twitch.tv/ClarsDrakaris. And that is your
do something nerdy tonight. There you go.
Spoilers.
Get out of here.
Spoilers.
So the Kaminoans. Should we just like dive into this?
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to start.
So Nala stays alive.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. Do you think the rest? Look, they say that they take the Kaminoans off world. How many of them do you think are left?
I mean, like, there's probably Kaminoans all over the place, right? Like, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think that Nala Se is alive. I think that we don't see a lot of Kaminoans.
Yeah.
And Topeka City is destroyed, right? But that we never actually see any other Kaminoans.
Yeah.
Right? So Topeka City being destroyed, there might be other cities on Camino that are still around that just don't have...
No, I thought that there was a line that said, like, all the cities... I thought that they, like, sunk everything on the planet.
We only see one city go down, and we only
Fair.
see the 3 Venator-class starships. And when the Bad Batch is landing in the second last episode, there are only 3 Venator-class starships in the sky around Camino, in the space around Camino. So I took that to mean Topeka City's gone, but like the rest of the planet, maybe not.
I thought I caught a line in there somewhere about everything, but I would have to go back because I don't know.
I think that this planet is probably... I think that is probably the only installation on this planet. I just don't think that means that like all Kaminoans in the galaxy are gone.
No,
because
no.
I think there's probably more Kaminoans than can fit on that one thing, right?
Sure.
But I don't know. It was very emotional. I didn't expect the raising of Topeka City to be as emotional as it was.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an installation that has been a part of Star Wars since 2001 or 2002. Since 2002.
Yeah.
And I've always loved the clones. My greatest wish for the prequel trilogy is that they would not remake it, but reshoot all the clone stuff with actual people with real people.
Yeah. Instead
of having all the clones be CGI. I think it's such a pointless reshoot, but I just want it. But yeah, I mean, to see the Kaminoans, the end of Camino, and to see Nala Se be taken into essentially custody to clone for the Empire forever was surprisingly emotional to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that they took them so that because the Empire doesn't use clones, right? So what is they doing?
But Snoke is technically a clone.
Oh.
So this and Grogu, the person on my shirt, is a clone, right? We find that out. Or no, they're trying to clone Grogu.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's what they're doing. So they're trying to clone Grogu in season 1, right? That's what
Okay, so she's been taken to probably work directly for like that specific like hush hush program.
Yeah.
But not clones for like general use. Okay.
No, I don't think there will be any more Jango Fett clones made, but they are going to advance cloning technology because the Emperor is trying to clone himself.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that is a very interesting storyline. I hope that we get to see more of. Because, I wish I could remember the actor's name who plays the cloner in Mandalorian, but he is wearing the same outfit that the person who came out, the one who I thought was wearing a beanie, but that's her hair.
Yeah.
For a second I was like, does that woman have a beanie on? She has the same outfit and insignia on her arm as the cloner from Mandalorian.
Gotcha.
Which I thought was a really nice touch. I love that Star Wars is making these live action animation hybrid things continue. And I think they handled that really well here. So, no, the cloning is going to be a part of the Empire's technological base, but is not going to be used to make more clone troopers as they become more about the TK units.
Yeah. So, do you think we'll see any of the Kaminoans again, or do you think that that's going to be...
Oh, 100%. Nala stays in season 2.
You think so?
Yeah, they did not take her into that mountain. Omega has a very personal relationship with Nala Se. I think 100% they're going to try and rescue her.
Okay, cool.
I think they fail. I don't think they succeed in rescuing Nala Se. But I do think that will be a storyline.
Yeah, it was just interesting because I was like, this kind of foreshadows a lot of what happens in later things.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I just wondered if it was going to be left to other series or if I wasn't sure if they were going to go back and like try to get her or see what she's been up to.
I'm sure they will. I think one of the interesting things that this brought up, though, is that Nala Se is the scientist.
Yeah.
I don't think when Attack of the Clones came out, Nala Se didn't come across as being like the cloning scientist. It seemed like the Kaminoans were all cloners and this was a thing they all did.
Yeah.
Whereas, Bad Batch kind of makes it clear like, oh no, Nala Se is like the genius behind it all. Which I think is really fun. I think that it makes Nala Se's character even more important to the storyline and more interesting. And I hope we get more with her because of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was an interesting touch that they added in this show. And might have been in canon before, but Attack the Clones doesn't really make that seem very apparent. So it was kind of cool. In the last episode with or was it the last episode or was it 2 episodes ago? The I don't need a politician, but I do need a scientist line was really interesting to me, and I appreciate the way they're handling this business / takeover deal between the Empire and the Kaminoans has been really interesting part of this season because we know the Empire does not use clone troopers; they use stormtroopers. Even though originally they were clones, it's very complicated. George Lucas changed his mind a couple of times. As we all know. And so we know now in modern canon that the stormtroopers are not clones. So when did that handover happen? And we're kind of watching it happen, and it's been really cool.
Yeah. We've seen the prototype clone, trooper.
What I want to know is they said that all the clones have been taken off world. And my question is to where and for what purpose, right? Because I don't think they've been killed. I don't think the Empire would waste them.
Do you think the Bad Batch, do you think the, kind of long-term goal for the show would be to try and save other clones and remove those chips?
I mean, yes and no. I think yes in the sense that I think that's what the Bad Batch would like to do. I think no in the sense that the clones can't all be saved, or else where are they? Right?
Well, yeah, exactly.
There's just a logistical. Star Wars has to deal with the fact that the clones aren't around anymore, and that because of the storyline of Rebels, and I know this is a spoiler chat for Bad Batch, but I'm going to talk Rebels spoiler chat for a sec. We have seen some clones who survive, right? And I won't say which because I don't want to spoil that, but there are clones who survive this, and there aren't many. There's 6 of them, 5 or 6 of them that I remember from Rebels, and so they can't just be that. The rest of the show can't be like them just going around removing chips from clones, or else it's kind of weird that all these clones have disappeared.
Yep.
And so I don't know. I think this show is leading to a more tragic end for a lot of these clones.
Yeah, I think so too.
And that's a shame. And it's going to be tough to watch. And I'm going to be very sad because boy, do I love my clones. Clone Wars,
but thematically it works. Yeah. The Empire sucks.
They're
not good people.
They're Nazis. They're space Nazis. And so I don't know. I think that we're going to get a lot of storylines around clones. I think that which clones are still around is going to be a lot of the show.
Yeah.
I think clones like Gregor, Rex, these clones that have been in season 1 are going to keep coming back. I think that we're going to be seeing a lot of the clones that we remember. We're going to find out what happened to a lot of them.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the storylines that people want. It's easy because we already care about those characters, and bringing them back from Clone Wars to this is just going to keep happening. If you had told me that one of the first clones to be brought back would be Gregor, Gregor was introduced in a storyline that isn't very loved from Clone Wars.
Gotcha.
And despite that, I think, I love Gregor. I think he's cool. His cackle is, very unique, and D. Bradley Baker does a really good job making him a fun character. But, it was surprising to see him so soon, and I'm glad. And I hope Gregor becomes, part of the show in season 2 and keeps coming back. And I have a feeling Gregor will eventually go join Rex, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I think my question to you is, do you think that the Bad Batch moving forward becomes more about them becoming more aligned with the rebellion, or do you think they're going to keep this tenuous relationship with the rebellion where they're not fully in but they're not fully out?
Well, I guess that depends on if they die or not. Because they're not in later things really. I don't know. I think that they're going to be definitely more at the outskirts of it for a while. I think that probably the Bad Batch, their priorities are going to be, I think they're going to try and figure out why everybody wants Omega.
Does anyone still want Omega though? Here's my question, because the Kaminoans are gone, right? So are there going to be any bounty hunters chasing Omega? Has the bounty hunter part of this been removed? Because I know a lot of people are really excited about Boba Fett coming in and replacing Cad Bane, and there was supposed to be that storyline where Boba Fett takes out Cad Bane in Clone Wars. It never got made. And so there's still this potential for when does Boba Fett become the number one bounty hunter in the galaxy? But is that storyline still something they can tell now that the Kaminoans are not paying anyone to be after Omega anymore?
Right, yeah. And because we know that Nala Se, is that?
Yep, Nala Se.
Because we know that Nala Se actually cares for Omega, even if Omega was essential to this research and was helpful, there's no way that they would, like, tell the Empire that, right? And put Omega in danger.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And also Nala Se canceled her contract with Fennec Shand.
Well, then here's the thing. What is going to motivate us to figure out what makes Omega special? Because I think that has to be answered. You can't.
What if nothing's special about her, though?
I thought that was, like...
But what if she just is special because it's who she is? What if she wasn't made special? You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe.
I think that's a fine story. I think that's the I'm no one storyline that people wanted from Rey, right? After Last Jedi, and then obviously Rise of Skywalker made some decisions about that.
Right.
But I don't know. I think that there's definitely potential for this show to tell the story of Omega's a clone, but she's herself, and that is what's special about her. And the most special thing about Omega is her heart, and that's what she brings to the team. They're all a little bit colder than she is, and she's like warming them all up. You know what? She's like an oven.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I still think, though, that the Bad Batch is going to kind of be more at the outskirts of the rebellion, at least until maybe, like, the final season.
Yeah.
I could see there being, like, a big, loud finale.
Thus far, there has been no Force powers used on the show outside of the premiere with, oh my god, Caleb Doom and his master. Do you think we get a Jedi in season 2? Or do we see Darth Vader? Or an Inquisitor?
No, I don't see why.
Okay.
I don't see why. This show feels... Yeah, I don't know. It does not... the Force hasn't really played a big part of this storyline so far.
Not at all. It hasn't been mentioned since the premiere.
Yeah, and so I don't know what reason they would have to change that right now. Maybe they give us a reason, maybe it happens, but based on what we have from our season finale, I say no. I don't
disagree.
think so. Okay.
It's Star Wars. No matter how much you don't need a Force user to show up, a Force user always shows up.
I guess. I don't know. I just kind of like that it's about, like, the Bad Batch, who are just, like, a bunch of, like, a group who's, like, really good at what they do.
I don't think it's going to become a main storyline, but I do think that at some point they're going to run into either a Jedi on the run or a child Force user who's being hunted by Inquisitors. And
Grogu.
They're going to help someone. You know what I mean? I think it'll be an episode. I think Ahsoka will probably show up. It's Dave Filoni. Ahsoka will probably show up.
Yeah, I guess.
He says not complaining because Ahsoka is my favorite Star Wars character. But I do think she'll show up for an episode. I do think that eventually, if this goes 5 seasons, we're going to see someone use the Force eventually.
I think, yeah, by the end of the show, maybe. But I don't know about season 2, if I'm being honest.
I don't know about season 2. I do think that eventually Darth Vader shows up.
That'd be cool.
I don't think he shows up because of Omega or something like that, but I do think eventually we will have a scene where Darth Vader is in the background and the Bad Batch are, like, running. Like, I think that the Bad Batch, generally get out of situations pretty unscathed. Mm-hmm. And I think that Darth Vader will show up as, like, real fear.
Yep.
For a moment. I think they'll pull, like they did in Rogue One.
Yeah.
With the Darth Vader.
Crosshair's still alive?
Yeah. How do we feel about that? I think that's the last thing we need to talk about, right?
Oh, and then we literally need to leave.
Yeah, we have a movie to go watch. Free Guy, Ryan Reynolds. I'm very excited.
I was like, wow, we're doing so well on time. Crosshair's still alive. I think that... I don't know. The whole thing with him not having the inhibitor chip was kind of like a whoa. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. He kind of sucks as, like, a person. But hopefully he gets some kind of redemption. I mean, like, the Empire literally left him to die, and he's like, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know, though. Crosshair also was raised to be a soldier. And, like, I think that there's an element of he has had a purpose his whole life, right?
So have the rest of them.
Yes, but I like that they don't all respond to the changing of the tides the same way.
Yeah.
Because it implies that, like, all the regs are bad, are weak, and all the Bad Batch are not. And I appreciate that, like, they all have different perspectives on it. I think Echo fully wants to join the rebellion, right? Tech just wants to tech it up. Wrecker wants to be with his family, and Hunter wants to protect his squad. But like, and Crosshair wants power, and like they all have different desires. And I appreciate that the Bad Batch are not so in line with one ideology, because it allows the show to have this depth now where we're telling the story in an interesting way.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I completely, like, I commend the choice for it not being the chip and he stays of his own volition, whatever. But even after the Empire abandons him, like, at that point, it feels a little forced to me. Sorry.
Okay.
It doesn't, like, because if you're a soldier,
mm-hmm.
you are raised with that sense of, like, camaraderie and, like, brotherhood. I feel like I've never been a soldier, but I think that, like, that no man left behind mentality mm-hmm. is definitely, like, very real, and Crosshair is, like, purposefully left behind, and that doesn't seem to affect him at all.
But the Bad Batch left him behind first in his eyes. I'm not saying I'm not saying he's right, but in his mind, the Bad Batch left him behind first.
Okay, I'm not saying that he goes with the Bad Batch, but him being like, no, the Empire is right, when they betrayed him.
I don't think he's saying the Empire is right. I'm saying the Empire is the only place that he can have power. And I think that that's what he desires. And I think that that's what this episode made clear, right? He didn't say, I believe in the Empire. He said the Empire is going to rule and I'm going to be a part of it. And I think that that's a different ideology. I don't think he gives a crap about the Empire. I think he wants power. I think he wants to be in control. He's a sniper. His whole thing is control, right? And so I think that leaving with the Bad Batch and being on the run mm-hmm. to him is choosing to have a lack of control in his life that he finds unacceptable.
I guess it's just like, how can you possibly think that the Empire is going to be like, yeah, come on, buddy, let us promote you after that? Like, I don't know. They have proven that he is nothing to them, and I don't know how he expects that he's going to gain power.
Well, and that one stormtrooper also radioed in that he's betrayed I can't remember exactly what he said, but
yeah,
the thing
they lost control of the situation.
So he might not be very welcome when he goes back to the Empire. We're gonna find out in season 2, which will hopefully be next year. Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see.
Dave Filoni next year. See. Can you just pull some ideas out of that cowboy hat of yours and give us the show? I think that's everything we're going to talk about. But if you want to keep this conversation going, leave some comments in the comments down below, and we will keep chatting with you there. As always, like, subscribe, smash the notification bell with a freaking hammer, but not on your screen because you'll break your monitor. You can also leave me comments. You can dislike the video. The algorithm god is hungry. We must feed her, and we have thick skins, so we will be fine. I promise you, internet trolls, you do not ruin our days. You can follow us over on Twitch. I'm over at twitch.tv/nerdynightly.
I'm over at twitch.tv/ClarisDeCars.
And as always, y'all, my name's Gonky.
And I'm AZ.
Do something nerdy tonight. Bye.
Bye.